The most influential person in your life is the narrator in your head. This voice is talking to you right now and is telling you a story about who you are. This video will show you how that story becomes the room you live in, the people you meet, and the money you earn. And the chances are, the author of that story isn't even you. The voice in your head feels like commentary. A passive observer reacting to the world. It's an illusion. Your inner dialogue is an active filter. It's the gatekeeper that decides which parts of reality get a VIP pass into your awareness and which parts get left outside the velvet rope. Your brain is bombarded with millions of bits of information every second. It can only consciously process a tiny fraction. So how does it decide what to focus on? It listens to the narrator. The story you tell yourself about who you are becomes the brain's filtering instructions. If your internal story is, "I'm awkward in social situations," your brain diligently gets to work. It acts like a bouncer at a club, specifically looking for evidence that confirms your awkwardness. It will magnify the moment you stumbled over a word, while completely ignoring the 10 minutes of easy conversation that followed. It will interpret a neutral expression on someone's face as a sign of boredom. It does all of this to maintain consistency. Your brain craves a coherent narrative. When you get home and the narrator says, "See, that was so awkward," it feels true because your brain only let in the evidence that fit the script. This creates a closed loop. The belief directs your attention creates the evidence, and the evidence strengthens the belief. It's a beautifully efficient system for keeping you exactly where you are. This filtering is powerful enough to make you blind to opportunities right in front of you. But what happens when you start feeding this system a deliberately different script? What happens when the narrator starts telling a new story? The brain's reaction is what changes everything. When you change the script, your brain actively co-creates reality. This process is called perceptual construction. Your brain takes ambiguous signals from your body and your environment, and it uses your inner dialogue to label them. That label becomes your reality. Researchers have demonstrated this with anxiety. Physiologically, the symptoms of intense anxiety and intense excitement are nearly identical. Your heart pounds, your breathing gets shallow, adrenaline courses through you. The physical experience is the same. The only difference is the story you tell yourself about it. Imagine you're walking into a high-stakes job interview. Your heart is hammering against your ribs. If your inner voice whispers, "I'm so nervous, this is terrifying, I'm going to fail," your brain labels those feelings as fear. The adrenaline becomes a threat signal. You interpret every neutral expression from the interviewer as judgment, as a confirmation of your inadequacy. You broadcast these signals of threat. Your posture closes in on itself. Your voice tightens. Now, rewind. You walk into the same room with the same hammering heart. This time, you've trained your inner voice to say, "This is excitement. My body is getting ready for a high-stakes performance. This is fuel." The physical sensations are identical, but the label is different. Your brain now interprets the adrenaline as a resource. You lean forward slightly. Your voice has more energy, more resonance. You're broadcasting competence. The interviewer is responding to the signal you're sending, a signal generated entirely by the label your inner dialogue provided. You spoke a different world into existence in that room. This works for a fleeting state like nervousness. But can it really work for something as solid as your identity? Can you talk yourself into becoming a fundamentally different person? The mechanism for that is slower, but it's even more powerful. It's happening with every single choice you make every single day. Think of your identity as the result of a long, ongoing election. Every single action you take is a vote for the type of person you are. Your inner dialogue is the campaign manager, urging you toward one voting booth or another. When the alarm clock goes off, the thought, "just 5 more minutes," is a vote for an identity that prioritizes short-term comfort over long-term discipline. The thought, "get up now," is a vote for the opposite. Neither vote decides the election on its own. A single workout doesn't instantly make you a healthy person, but the final tally is what matters. This is grounded in a psychological principle called self-perception theory. It states that we figure out who we are in the same way others do, by observing our own behavior. Your inner dialogue is the whisper that precedes the action. The thought, "I'll read one chapter tonight instead of scrolling," is a vote for being a reader. The thought, "I will speak up and ask that question in the meeting," is a vote for being confident. Over time, you build up so much evidence for the new identity that the old story starts to feel fraudulent. It loses its power. Now, a skeptic would rightly point out that your past and your circumstances have already stuffed the ballot box. Your upbringing, your early experiences, your social environment, they cast a lot of votes for you, long before you were aware an election was even happening. This is true. You start with a certain set of tallies you didn't choose. The inertia is real. But the election is never over. The ballot box is open right now. You can begin outvoting your past, one small deliberate action at a time. This makes the stakes of your current inner monologue incredibly high. The story it's telling you right now is casting votes, reinforcing your current identity, whether you like it or not. The system is always running. But this voting system is just the software. The truly stunning part is how this software starts rebuilding the hardware it runs on. Your thoughts are physically changing the structure of your brain. Imagine a dense, untamed jungle. To get from one side to the other, you have to push through the thick undergrowth. It's slow, exhausting work. That's your brain trying to learn a new skill or think a completely new thought. The first time you force your way through, you leave behind a faint, barely visible trail, a few broken branches, some trampled leaves. The next time you take that route, it's fractionally easier. Do it 100 times, and you've worn a clear path. 1,000 times, and it's a dirt road. 1,000,000 times, and it becomes a paved 6-lane superhighway. Your most ingrained thought patterns, especially the negative, automatic ones, are these superhighways. You can travel them instantly with almost no conscious energy or effort. This is neuroplasticity in action. Neurons that fire together, wire together. Your inner dialogue is the force that tells your brain which paths to pave. Each time you have the thought, "I always mess things up," you send another crew of pavers down that neural highway. You are literally making it easier and more efficient for your brain to think that thought in the future. Meanwhile, the thought, "This is a challenge I can handle," is a faint trail in the woods, overgrown and hard to find. The paths you stop using, your brain eventually reclaims. The jungle grows back over them in a process called synaptic pruning. The evidence for this is physical and measurable. Consider the famous study of London taxi drivers. Before they can get a license, they must memorize a labyrinth of over 25,000 streets, known as the knowledge. It's an immense feat of spatial memory. Researchers scanned their brains before and after this intense training. They found a significant increase in the size of their posterior hippocampus, the part of the brain associated with spatial navigation. Their internal monologue, a constant rehearsal of streets and routes, literally reshaped the physical matter of their brains. The same process is happening inside your head. Your self-talk is the map you rehearse every day. It's building the neural architecture of the person you are becoming. This explains the internal change. But how does this rewiring project itself outward? How does it change how other people see and treat you? The transmission system is almost perfectly silent. Your inner world is constantly being broadcast to the outer world. The signal is non-verbal. It's in the tiny involuntary muscles around your eyes that create micro-expressions. It's in the way you hold your shoulders and occupy space. It's in the subtle cadence and pitch of your voice. These signals are all driven by the subconscious, and your subconscious takes its marching orders from your dominant, repeated inner stories. You can walk into a room and say nothing, and people will still get a feeling, a sense of who you are. That sense comes from the signal your body is broadcasting. An inner monologue of self-criticism creates a subtle, almost imperceptible tension in the shoulders. A slight downcasting of the eyes. A vocal tone that's a fraction of a pitch higher than its natural resting state, a sign of submission. An inner monologue of quiet confidence does the opposite. An open posture, a steady gaze, a voice that resonates from the chest. Think back to the job interview. Two people can say the exact same words, but the person whose inner story is, "I'm an imposter and they'll find me out," broadcasts a cascade of signals that undermine those words. The interviewer may not consciously register the tiny hesitation or the slight lack of eye contact, but on a gut level, they feel a disconnect. They sense a lack of conviction. More than that, they sense a lie. The other person, whose story is "I am qualified for this," broadcasts congruence. Their words and their body are telling the same story. That congruence is what we perceive as charisma. It's what we call confidence. It creates trust. You are sending a different set of instructions to the hundreds of muscles that are constantly telling the tribe who you are and where you fit, and this creates a feedback loop. People react to your signal, and their reaction confirms your original inner belief. And this points to the most uncomfortable question of all. If this whole system is so powerful, who wrote the original script in the first place? The narrator in your head probably sounds like you, but its first drafts were written by others. The core of your inner dialogue is a collage of voices you absorbed before you had a critical filter. The voice of a parent telling you to be careful, a teacher's casual remark about your aptitude for math, the subtle messages from culture about what success or beauty is supposed to look like. You are running legacy software. It's unauthored code installed on your hardware years ago to solve problems that may no longer exist for a person you may no longer want to be. The quiet tragedy is that most people live their entire lives letting this ghostwriter dictate the plot. They think the narrator is them, so they never question the narration. They believe the story is reality. The real work is realizing that you are the editor. Your awareness is the red pen. This is a skill learned through practice. You can start to notice the script as it runs. You can challenge it. You can cross out a sentence and, with deliberate effort, write a new one. Each time you do, you cast a new vote. You pave a new neural path. You broadcast a new signal. The narrator has had the microphone for a very long time. It's loud and automatic. But the director's chair has been empty this whole time. The voice that's analyzing these words right now, the one judging and interpreting. Whose handwriting is that, really?